The ballroom lights shimmered against crystal chandeliers as laughter rolled through the crowd. Every eye turned when Alexander Grant, a 38-year-old single dad and CEO worth billions, walked in. Tonight, he wasn't here as a mogul. He was here because his sister begged him. Just pretend to be my date so I don't look pathetic at my ex's wedding. But as champagne glasses clinked and violins swelled, Alexander's attention wasn't on the bride or the groom or the whispers trailing him like perfume. It was on the woman weaving between tables with a tray of drinks, her faded shoes barely holding together, her smile polite yet trembling. A waitress, struggling, out of place. And when her eyes locked with his, something shifted, something. No one in that glittering hall expected that. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. Asterisk asterisk. The groom's father raised a toast, the crystal clinking echoing like hollow pride. Alexander adjusted his tie, already regretting agreeing to this charade. He leaned toward his sister, whispering, 10 minutes, then I'm gone. Please. Alex, she hissed back. Just stay until they open the dance floor. I can't face them alone. He sighed, straightened, and forced a practiced CEO smile. He'd been in billion-dollar negotiations with cutthroat board members, but tonight felt worse. A room full of polished strangers pretending their lives were perfect. Then it happened. The waitress stumbled. Not from clumsiness, but from exhaustion. Her tray tipped, glasses wobbling, and Alexander instinctively reached out, steadying it before disaster struck. Careful, he murmured, his deep voice low but kind. Her cheeks flushed crimson. I'm sorry, sir. Thank you. Up close, he saw details others would miss. The calluses on her hands, the tiny tear in her sleeve, the faint shadow of sleepless nights beneath her eyes. Her name tag read Emily. Instead of letting her scurry away like most CEOs would, Alexander asked quietly, "When's the last time you ate something tonight?" Emily blinked, startled by the question. "Waitresses don't eat during weddings, sir." His brows furrowed. "Then take this." He slipped one of the untouched oars from his plate, wrapped it in a napkin, and pressed it into her hand. "Hide it. Eat later. Don't argue." Her lips parted, eyes glistening at the unexpected kindness. No one had noticed her all night. But he had, and in that moment, under the glow of chandeliers and the judging stares of society's elite, the billionaire CEO pretending for a wedding felt something real for the first time in years. Asterisk, the music shifted into a waltz. Couples gliding across the polished dance floor, laughter and champagne filling the air. Alexander sat rigid at his table, his jaw tightening every time some smug relative or business acquaintance approached. To them, he wasn't Alexander, the man. He was Alexander Grant, the CEO, the billionaire, the widowed father who built an empire from ashes. A symbol, not a person. But his eyes kept flicking back to Emily. She moved like a ghost between the tables, unseen, unacknowledged, yet carrying the weight of everyone's indulgence. He noticed how she smiled politely when handed a dirty plate, how her back stiffened when someone snapped fingers at her, as if she were furniture, not flesh. Something about it rattled him, and then, the cruelty began. At the far end of the hall, 3 guests, the groom's college friends, called out, "Hey waitress, bring us more champagne. And hurry this time." Their voices were mocking, dripping with entitlement. Emily kept her head down and walked faster, tray in hand. She didn't flinch, but Alexander saw the faint tremor in her fingers. His sister leaned close. "Don't," she warned under her breath. "This isn't your problem." But it was, because 6 years ago, he'd watched his late wife, the woman who once worked 3 jobs while he built his company, be treated the same way by men who thought money equaled worth. And Alexander swore he would never stand silent. Again, he pushed back his chair. The scrape echoed louder than intended. Heads turned as Alexander crossed the room, not with haste but with the commanding stride that had closed billion-dollar mergers. He stopped at Emily's side, just as one of the drunken men reached for her wrist to steady the tray. Alexander's voice cut through the music, low, icy, dangerous. "Take your hand off her." The man froze. "Relax, Grant. We're just joking around." Alexander's eyes narrowed, steel flashing in them. "Do I look like I find you amusing?" Silence blanketed the table. Guests shifted uncomfortably. Even the band faltered, strings squeaking against boughs. Emily whispered, panic in her tone. "Please, it's fine. I don't want trouble." Alexander glanced down at her, his expression softening only for her. "You deserve respect. That's not trouble. That's basic decency." And in that moment, Emily's throat tightened. Because no one had said words like that to her in years, the drunk men mumbled apologies and shrank back. Alexander didn't wait for more. He lifted the tray gently from Emily's trembling hands, set it on a nearby table, and asked in a quieter voice, "Do you have a break?" She shook her head, stunned. We don't really get breaks." "Then step outside for a moment." "With me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The billionaire CEO leaving a wedding party to escort a waitress? Whispers rose like wildfire. But Alexander ignored every pair of staring eyes. He guided Emily toward the terrace doors, shielding her from the daggers of gossip. The night air hit them, cool and liberating. The city skyline glittered beyond the terrace, 1,000 lights against velvet sky. Emily wrapped her arms around herself, partly from the chill, partly from nerves. "You shouldn't have done that," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "People will talk." "They already do," Alexander replied, leaning against the railing. "Let them choke on it." Her brows furrowed, confusion lacing her features. "Why do you care?" "You don't even know me." His gaze softened. "Maybe. I don't know your whole story. But I know what it feels like to be invisible in a room full of people pretending they're better than you." Emily's breath caught. "You? Invisible?" He gave a hollow laugh. "They see the CEO, the money, the power. They don't see the man who goes home to an empty house. They don't see my son asking why mom isn't there to tuck him in anymore. They don't see the loneliness." His voice cracked ever so slightly. Before he forced it steady again, Emily blinked, the realization sinking in. This wasn't just a cold billionaire flexing authority. This was a man bleeding quietly behind a fortress of suits and wealth. "Alexander," she whispered, unsure why his pain hit her chest like a blow. He tilted his head. "And you? What's your story, Emily?" Her throat tightened. For years, she'd buried it, silenced it. But his eyes, piercing yet kind, made it impossible to lie. "My mom's sick," she confessed, her words trembling. "Medical bills piled up. I work double shifts to cover what insurance won't. Rents overdue. My brother left, my dad bailed, and I'm just trying to hold what's left of my family together." Her voice cracked at the end. She bit her lip hard, furious at herself for showing weakness in front of a man like him. But Alexander didn't pity her. He didn't flinch. He simply said, "You're stronger than anyone in that room. They'll never understand what it means to fight like that." "But I do." Emily's chest tightened, tears threatening to spill. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was carrying the weight alone. Then the glass doors burst open. His sister stormed out, panic flashing across her face. "Alex, what are you doing?" "People are whispering that you're—" Her eyes flicked to Emily, narrowing with suspicion. "You can't just talk to her out here. She's—" "Staff." Emily's face burned. She stepped back instantly, guilt flooding her veins. "I should go," but Alexander's hand shot out, gently but firmly stopping her. His tone was calm but thunderous beneath the surface. "She's not just staff. She's a human being. treat her as such," his sister faltered, stunned. "Alex, please, this is already humiliating for me. People are saying," he cut her off, "let them say it. If your dignity depends on trampling someone else's, then maybe it's not worth keeping." Emily stared at him, speechless. This wasn't a CEO posturing for power. This was a man risking his reputation to defend a waitress no one cared about. And in that instant, Emily's heart cracked wide open. She whispered, her voice fragile yet steady, "Why are you doing this?" Alexander met her eyes, and the words left his lips before he could stop them. "Because when I look at you, Emily, for the first time in years, I don't feel alone." The world stilled. Even the city's hum felt quiet. Emily's breath hitched, and she looked away, blinking rapidly. Her chest ached with something dangerous, something she couldn't afford to feel. Not when her life was survival, not romance, but deep down, beneath all the walls she'd built, something stirred. A spark, a dangerous, undeniable spark. Inside the ballroom, whispers spread like wildfire. Phones snapped photos through the glass, recording the billionaire CEO on the terrace with the poor waitress. The gossip would erupt by morning, but on that terrace, none of it mattered. For Alexander, this was no longer about pretending at a wedding. For Emily, this was no longer about surviving a shift. This was about two broken souls colliding in the 5D. Unlikeless place, under the harshest light, and somehow finding something neither had expected: hope. The ballroom had grown louder, the music pulsing like a heartbeat. Emily balanced another tray, ignoring whispers that followed her since she'd stepped onto that terrace with Alexander. The groom grabbed the mic, smirking, most likely to fake a relationship. Our billionaire guest and his sister. Laughter rolled. Phones lifted. Emily froze. Alexander's sister turned pale, but Alexander didn't flinch. He walked to the stage, took the mic, and said evenly, "Most likely to forget basic decency? Anyone who treats staff like props. The best person here tonight is the one serving your drinks. If that offends you, the problem isn't her." Silence fell. Eyes darted. For the first time, Emily felt seen. Then, "Dad?" A small voice cut through the quiet. Alexander's son stood in the doorway, clutching his backpack. The babysitter mouthed sorry from behind. Alexander crouched, scooped him up, and whispered, "Hey champ, you okay?" The boy blinked sleepily, then spotted Emily. "You're the nice lady who gave me water earlier. My dad smiles when you talk." Her throat tightened. Alexander looked stunned. And just like that, the room softened. This wasn't a ruthless CEO. He was a father. The event manager rushed over, trying to shoo Emily away. "Back to the kitchen, now." Alexander's eyes sharpened. "No, she's not invisible. And if guests harass her again, I'll make sure your director hears how you let it happen." The manager hesitated, then forced a stiff apology. "You deserved respect. I'm sorry." Emily swallowed hard. Those words, rare, overdue, landed like a weight lifting off her chest. The groom muttered something under his breath, but his bride hissed, "Stop." And for once, he did. Later, when the crowd melted into drunken laughter and cake crumbs, Alexander found Emily near the exit. He handed her a cup, hot chocolate, smuggled from the staff lounge. "Don't tell." She smiled faintly, clutching the warmth. "You didn't have to rescue me." "I didn't," he said. "You were already rescuing yourself." "I just turned up the volume." Her laugh cracked into a sigh. "I can't be in a headline tomorrow. I can't be the waitress who caught a billionaire's eye. My mom, she doesn't need that." "Then you won't be," Alexander promised. "No headlines. But I run a foundation, anonymous grants for medical bills. If you apply, the board won't even see your name. If you qualify, it's not because of me. It's because you deserve it." Emily blinked. "You'd do that without expecting anything?" His gaze didn't waver. The only thing I expect is that you remember this. Your worth isn't defined by the tray in your hand, or the people who tried to make you feel small tonight. Her chest tightened, tears pricking her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt like someone had seen her, not her uniform, not her exhaustion, but her. Before she could reply, his son peeked from the side room, voice drowsy. "Dad, are you coming?" Alexander smiled softly. "In a minute, buddy." He looked back at Emily. "Can I walk you out?" She hesitated, then nodded. They slipped through the service hall, the muffled music behind them. Outside, the air was crisp, honest. He shifted his son onto one shoulder, then said quietly, "Saturday. Coffee, bad chairs, good scones, just me, just you. No pretending." Emily bit her lip, warmth spreading despite the cold. "Saturday," she agreed. They didn't kiss. They didn't make promises bigger than their lives. They just stood in the doorway of something new, two people bruised by the world, daring to believe in kindness. And by morning, the only headline wasn't about scandal. It was about a new policy at the venue. Zero tolerance for staff harassment. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was real. And sometimes, real was better.